I am an artist living in beautiful Vermont, USA, and I have a lot of questions. So I engage the minds of the people that I meet. Poets, writers, artists. I explore what's inside and share it with you. My name is Ricky McGeckran, and I am eager to know. I'm here with Bonnie Fairchild, who is a Vermont-based musician and music teacher. Bonnie, welcome to Eager to Know.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to have you here. And in addition to being those things, you are also my piano teacher.
Yes, I am, and happy to be.
So music has really been part of your life since you were very young, like 6 years old.
Yes.
And I find this very interesting because you have what I consider an insider's view of music because you've been doing it your whole life. Most of the world is enjoying music, being inspired by music, but I feel like you're probably experiencing it well, you and other people like you are experiencing it in a different way because you have an understanding of how it works. And I'm aware of this because I just started learning music, and I'm experiencing music in a completely new way.
Yes.
Because I'm having to learn to play piano.
It's interactive, yes. Yeah, piano, music is my life, really. It has, it has supported me. I supported myself and my two children. I have experienced many tragedies in my life and hardships, and music has always saved me, I would say, because, you can, it's a comfort. It's like a sound blanket that you can wrap yourself in. So when you play music, when you listen to music, yes, you can sort of go into like the memory of when you first heard this song or just how beautiful this piece is. But when you're actually playing the music, I don't know. All I can do is describe it as a blanket that surrounds me and comforts me. A blanket of sound. So, if I know some people go to alcohol if they're troubled and sad, but what that does is it just numbs you. But when you play music and you're sad, you work through some feelings and some emotions. And I mean, really, music is very emotional. It's a universal language. I believe that I experience some of the same emotions that someone in China or in Ukraine or Russia would experience. And so it makes me feel like I'm part of something that's bigger than me, and I don't feel so alone, just by playing music. And like we always say, like, if you're feeling blue, you play the blues and you'll be happy.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned that to me.
And when I'm happy, some people would just like you kick up your heels and you're dancing. Well, I feel like I break into song. And so, one of the interesting things about piano is because it is a percussion instrument, how to make it sing and how to make it be so very expressive. Yeah. It has a larger range than any other instrument.
Yeah.
You can't get vibrato on it like you can a violin or a cello, but it has a warmth to it that, I guess you can extend the emotional quality of the instrument by the use of the pedal.
And also the use of how you hit the keys. I mean, this is one of the things that I learned. Obviously, when I started working with you, I had been practicing with a book, but I never had an actual lesson, and so I kind of knew the notes and things like that. And what you have taught me, and what I have most of my questions about, is the actual pressing of the keys. And there's so much that you can say. And there's so much emotion with how you press the keys.
That's right.
And many times in our lesson, like you're actually holding my fingers, and that's so fascinating. I never would have thought that. I just thought piano, it's just 88 keys. Now, when you talked about emotion, would you say in how it's a healing makes you feel better? So is piano or creating music, if you are in a very, very dark, depressed place, you still would be able to create music.
Yeah.
You still would be able to.
Yeah, I can get immersed in music. Yeah. So several years ago, quite a few years ago, I was in a car accident, a single car accident, and I broke my neck. And I broke C1, 2, and 5. And I was not expected to be fully functional afterwards. They were going like, wow, it's just a miracle that I'm not paralyzed or, you know. So, and I wore a halo for almost a year.
Oh my goodness.
For over 9 months. And it was quite painful. The only thing that would ease my pain was listening to Bach. That's kind of just, he's my go-to. And I could listen to Bach and it would transform my whole mind and my whole feelings. I would just be in the music and not, I'm totally oblivious of what is going on around me.
Had you always had a relationship with Bach, or
No.
was this new?
No, I'd always enjoyed Bach, but there was something about, my daughter brought to the hospital one day a boombox, and I'd always enjoyed Bach, and I'd been working on, at that time, the Italian Concerto. So she brought me a tape, a cassette tape that had the concerto on it. And when I listened to that, it was just like, oh my gosh, I am just, that's. So whenever the doctor would come in with his apron, with all of his tools to adjust my halo, he knew that he needed to put on Bach first. He would go over there and do that. And as soon as he did that, I go like, uh-oh, we got adjustments today? And he goes, yep.
Yeah, okay.
So, and they stopped giving me Demerol because it just made me so sick.
Right. Now, I want to talk about something a little bit more mechanical
Yeah.
about music,
Yeah.
because I am new to it. As I mentioned, I've always enjoyed music. I've been inspired by music, but learning to read music and play it. One of the aspects to music that I find so interesting and unique is the sense of rhythm and beat and timing. And that is such a big part of what you have to do. I don't think that's something that I have ever had to account for in learning things. Maybe if I had learned dance, it's possible. I can't think of anything else. I mean, I've studied math, science, I'm an artist, a painter. I don't think that idea of rhythm is something I have ever had to use that part of my brain.
Yes, so, well, having a good sense of rhythm and beat and pulse leads to flow. And life has flow. I mean, you walk outside, you listen to the birds, you hear, the rustle of the leaves of the trees. It all just sort of flows.
Yeah.
And it has a rhythm.
It does. And I think that's why I mentioned that I hear and experience music differently now that I've been learning to play piano, and I think it's because of that, because that part of my brain around rhythm and beat has been activated, that I'm really hearing it much more, and it's fascinating.
Yes. So, music usually goes somewhere, We talk about chord progressions going from this chord to that chord, right? Okay. Even minimalistic music, it's like a pool of water that's just circling around like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, just creates a flow. I just don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
If you don't have good rhythm, first of all, if you are playing for a singer, that's going to be a problem. If you're playing like dance music, that's going to be a problem, right? If you are just wanting to keep your heart beat steady, you have to have a sense of pulse. and flow, yeah. So, and that's one of the more difficult parts of music, I think, you know, especially because
It is.
when you learn, when you're learning to read music, okay, so you're not just doing all by ear, this is an extra step. So you see these black dots on a page and you go like, okay, so that has meaning, right?
Right.
You know, so I can look at a piece of music and I can hear it in my head just because I've studied for so
of
long.
course.
You know, I see like intervals, I see the distance, and hear the melodies, and I can, you know, I can tell a lot of things just by looking,
Yeah.
right? And, but one of the first things that you have to get in place is the rhythm.
Yeah.
Because if you've got all the right sounds, but it doesn't have the right
Yep.
flow.
Yeah. Well, you have a list of
Yeah.
items that we're supposed to do when we have a new piece, and I think the rhythm is the first one.
Yeah, yeah.
We're supposed to
Make
figure that
sure you
out.
figure it out. Yeah.
Right. And also looking over the whole piece and seeing if
Looking
there's
for
any
patterns.
patterns and
Yeah.
if there's anything weird that I
Yeah,
need to be
right.
prepared for.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting and personally transformative things about learning piano is the fact that I've learned that our brains can learn really quickly in a way that I didn't realize. And I've talked to you about this, but if I get a piece of music and you're using all of these parts of your brain that don't necessarily normally work together. You have the beat part, and then you have the where the note is on the staff. Thank you, which is maps to which key, and then you have your fingers. So there's just all of these things, and I will get a piece of music, and I will start playing it, and I will be thinking, this is impossible. There is just no way that I am ever going to be able to do this. And within an hour, you can do it. And it is, and certainly I am no different than anybody else. That blew me away, and it really made me realize at this late age how our brains can learn so quickly. And I couldn't believe that. It was so odd that piano would be the way that I would learn that lesson. And also I apply it now because as I encounter other challenges outside of piano, I'm realizing that, like, oh, this feels overwhelming and impossible, but if I just stick with it, my piano brain is going to be able to, like, piece this together, whatever the challenge is.
Right. You have to break things down into small little parcels, right, so that you can make progress and not just dive into something, right, and just expect that it's going to go. Yeah.
And one of the first things I mentioned was you being a good teacher, and there are many reasons why I say that. Certainly patience and being a good listener, but also you really break things down in a methodical way. So, the idea of learning a new skill like piano seems completely overwhelming, and it isn't in working with you.
Right.
I know you break it up into, sight reading, music theory, which is so interesting, having like a math background. And then also repertoire, actually, the playing. And everything is like broken down. And the way you tell students to approach things, it's always, these are the numbered things that you need to think about. And I very much appreciate that.
Well, good. Yes. It's. I had some very good teachers along the way that helped me with that. Another one, Rosamund van der Linde, who became my mentor. And she helped me devise a course. So before anybody was really doing group piano, I did group piano lessons for 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and then I did adult piano 101 and piano 102, and I learned a lot from her about how to break things down into manageable, because many times I can do something, and I find this true now, that I can play something and I can do something, but I have to really break it down if I'm going to explain to somebody else how to do that. I can just do it naturally,
Right.
Right. Or because I am just so immersed, I don't know if
Right.
it's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But to explain it to somebody, you really the more you know about music,
The better you can explain it.
the better you can explain it, and the better you'll be a musician. You're a better musician, for it. So, and you don't have to be professional,
Right.
To really enjoy music. I mean, really.
One of the things I know you were very passionate about is the Sonatina piano camps, which sounds incredible, and it's nearby. It's in Bennington, and it's a piano camp that also has wonderful food and yoga. Tell me about how you got involved with that and what your involvement in it is.
Right. Well, I went as a participant in 1986. I was going through a rough patch in my life, and my parents were just beside themselves. What can we do to help you? And I said, well, I haven't been playing piano. And I hear you can go to this piano camp in Old Bennington, Vermont. You can eat, breathe, and drink piano. That sounds to me like the perfect remedy for my situation. So I went. So my parents scraped together some money to send me, and they watched my children.
And did it work?
It worked. And the director at the time, Ryan Vanderlinde, who was head of math at Bennington College at the time, he and his wife had started the Sonatina Sonata camps. And he took a liking to me, and he said, I love your energy. And he said, I would love you to come to some more sonatas. And I said, well, that's great, but I can't afford it. He said, no, you'll be my guest. I like your energy. So I would come and I would help him with various chores to do around there, and I would participate in the sonatas. So this went on for a few sonatas, and he became ill with leukemia, and he said, I just don't think I can teach at Summer Sonatina, the children's portion of the camp. Would you like to teach? So I said, well, sure. So I went and taught at Summer Sonatina for 6 weeks. And then...
And that was children you were
that
teaching?
That was the children,
Right.
yeah.
And had you ever taught children before?
I had taught children, one-on-one in little music lessons, but I hadn't really done, camp is a different situation than school, okay? So let's put it that way. And so then from there, he said, well, I think you should teach at the sonatas. I think people would really enjoy seeing you here. And you just have lots of interesting aspects to music to share. And so that's how I became a teacher there. And I love going there. They have I call them high rollers. We have concert pianists who are, teachers there that come and teach for a day or two, that do concerts, in-house concerts. Some very famous people have passed through. I'm happy to say that I feel wonderful. It's my family over there is Sonata Camps. And so I would encourage anyone who has any idea about maybe they would like to play piano. We take total beginners and very advanced. And there's short camps, there's long camps.
Okay, great. I will put the URL in the show notes.
Yes.
But I am definitely interested in checking that out, doing a piano immersion.
Yeah, piano immersion. All right.
Bonnie, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll be seeing each other next week.
Tuesday.
And then we have my recital coming up.
First recital.
Yes, which I've been practicing every day. I'm a wreck. But but no, it's been great talking to you as always.
Thank you.
My name is Ricky McGuckran, and you have been listening to Eager to Know, the podcast. If you haven't already, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join me next week for another Eager to Know podcast.